podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello, welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rolinson. I'm joined by my colleagues Matt Kendrick and James Rushton. Just before we were starting there, for those unaware, I've got a little window at the bottom where I can see myself, James and Matt. And while the intro music was playing, Matt was rocking out with an air guitar. So that put me in a good mood before...
I can't see you. Can you see me, James?
No, it's because Dan's a host. You get into the technical details.
Because I'm the host of the stream, I can see your little webcam window even when you're not on screen. So I can see you rocking out with the air guitar. And you've put me in a good mood already. So if you want to be active for the viewers, then you might as well do it now.
I might do a different instrument. I might do air clarinet next week, depending on the result.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about the result then. A weird game, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it as we go. Now, this probably says more about me than anything, but I came into this game thinking that, Brighton play relatively decent football at times, but they're still near the bottom of the table. If Villa are on form, this should be a not comfortable win, but we should win tonight. First of all, Villa weren't on form, and it's this weird game where I've just felt frustrated and annoyed all the way through it. I don't know why that is. I don't know why Villa weren't able to get going. I don't think it was particularly that Brighton were good enough to stop us. I think they stopped Grealish quite well. Martinez has pulled off a few good saves. But on the whole, Villa just weren't anywhere near it tonight, and I just felt really irritated and kind of bitey and itchy all the way through.
It's an odd one. I think it's to kind of try and sum it up. It's almost like a clash of just two playing styles that just don't kind of gel at all. Villa struggle against teams such as Brighton, and I think it's teams that are love holding onto the ball and really enjoy kind of the nitty gritty work of restricting those counters or those transitions, which is, part of. It was an excellent piece, and I think I'll send you a link to it after Dan to link into the show notes. But it just kind of predicted this game almost. It's like it was coming. We all knew it was coming in the first 3 minutes. Villa struggled. I was hoping I'd get to half time and kick on or change things up, but that's not the way of Dean Smith and Villa, is it? They're set in their ways, and those ways 90% of the time seem to work. But then you get thrown up games like this, so. I feel like we said it so much this in the last few episodes, but it's just take it on the chin and move on almost. But it almost feels like the time is now for a few tweaks, especially in terms of personnel.
What do you think those tweaks would be before you come in, Matt?
Morgan Sanson to come on for maybe Ross Barkley. I think it would be a bold call. When he came on, Villa looked far more lively and he looked a lot more active. Don't know if that's a fitness thing, whatever. I think fitness is an easy excuse considering we've had a week off and the same kind of things got through up. Why not? Even Jacob Ramsey, there's a lot of kind of dynamism in these two players, and they seem to approach the game in a bit of a different way. I think Ross Barkley, you're always going to get the similar kind of performances from Ross Barkley, and these have come out in an Everton shirt and a Chelsea shirt. Now they're coming out in a Villa shirt. Nothing wrong with it. Just change and freshen things up, and when he's back raring to go, it's just probably a bad run of form or something like that. So freshen things up and a few minor tweaks and see what we can do next week.
What do you think of it, Matt?
Yeah, I thought the back seven did okay. I thought Brighton had bits and pieces, and obviously Martinez has made several good saves. I thought, like I said, I thought as a defensive unit they did okay, and that's proven by the fact there's another clean sheet. None of the front four really turned up today, and we've said it before when Grealish doesn't turn up. I think we've got to allow even the Messiah that is Jack Grealish, we've got to allow him an off day every now and then. When he doesn't turn up, you want Watkins, you want Barkley, you want Traore to be firing on all cylinders. And neither of those three, along with Grealish, did much at all, did they? I actually thought Villa kind of got worse as they grew into the game. At first, they seemed flat and devoid of ideas, but when it comes to the last quarter of the game, just even silly passes were just going astray. They were just couldn't keep the ball at all, let alone try and do anything adventurous with it. But it's another point, isn't it? It's another point, another clean sheet. And Villa will have to. I mean, I think is it Leicester and Leeds next? Villa will have to up their levels if they don't want to squander this really, really impressive position that they've put themselves in.
Talk about Ross Barkley. I've just seen a comment saying that Barkley's been poor, but Grealish was silent. Don't be fickle and pick on Barkley, which is fair enough. I don't think anyone today was good apart from maybe Martinez. which is odd for Villa. There's usually a couple of performances that you think, well, you've only been let down in certain areas. I thought we were poor all over the pitch tonight, which we just didn't get going. Every second ball, people having poor first touches, wayward passes. Douglas Luiz, I think, just put one straight out into touch as well. It's just very, very frustrating night. With Barkley, though, there's a period of time when we're doing these podcasts and saying, whatever Chelsea want, pay 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, whatever they want, do the deal in January, get it done. I won't want him now. I don't think he's up to. We said this last time about you don't lose your talent overnight and things like that. But I don't even think he's the right character particularly for what we're looking for going forward. And if the quoted price is 30 million plus, I don't think that's value for money. I think you'd find better deals elsewhere. Again, just jogging around. It could be a fitness thing, like you said, James. But it's been a good few weeks now where we've been talking about Ross Barkley not being up to standard, and I feel like we're carrying him a little bit now.
Yeah, you see the liveliness when Sanson comes on. I'm still really unsure on nailing that pronunciation, even after the Darren Fletcher one. I feel like when it comes out of my mouth, it's not right. But yeah, like you said, 30-40 million is a lot of money. And look, I feel like I'd rather have Ramsey, Sanson and Barkley than not that trio. But there's probably value out there. But I guess that's a conversation we have in the summer. It's still got so long of this season left to go, and look, if he picks up another purple patch, this bit that we're all talking about right now, it looks ridiculous. It will look silly in hindsight. So still a long way to go. It's just how much of the play of Villa focuses on that left-hand side, and they're not a one-man team, but they are in the sense that so much of the tactics and the direction they go is freeing up space for Grealish. Even Watkins drifting to the left to kind of drag people wide. So much of it does rely on Jack Grealish, and when he's having a game kind of steeped in frustration, I almost thought he might have got sent off in that first half as well, considering all the stuff he was putting up with and kicking off about. But there needs to just be a little bit more about Villa than simply unlocking Grealish or allowing Grealish to dictate the play. There needs to be a little bit more of switching things up. And I know Matt said bring Grealish over to the right. It didn't even seem like that even solved the problem. I think when teams can frustrate Barkley, Watkins, and Grealish, the three big men have kind of having a very similar game, which is annoying. They can't break any deadlock, and then you have to rely so much on luck. Rambling here, but was it luck? It seemed to be a fantastic defensive performance, aside from anything else. I don't know about you.
I thought on the subject of Barkley, it's kind of, what is he bringing? To me, and again, I'm probably
nothing at the moment.
I'm probably thinking Ross Barkley 6 or 7 years ago, breaking through as a kid. But to me, Ross Barkley is about kind of driving forward, kind of having a bit of energy, kind of give and goes on the edge of the box, kind of creating things, getting shots away, almost being a bit of a kind of, we've said this before Villa signed him, that he's kind of got the build that he could be a bit of an enforcer, but one that kind of, but still marauds forward. And if he's trying to play that game half paced, that's not his game. And if he's trying, and Ross Barkley slowed down, limits what, is he a cultured enough footballer to play the game slower than a not at full pelt, but faster than he's playing it at the moment? I don't know. Again, I don't like writing people off after a handful of performances. But equally, like you say, 30-40 million quid, even for Aston Villa going into their third season in the Premier League, you've got to be sure. You've got to be sure that the player's a good fit. You've got to be sure that the player is fit. You've got to be sure that the player has the right mentality and the right attitude. And I wouldn't write him off yet, but equally, I wouldn't say that you can tick all of those boxes yet either.
There's a comment here from Mark Astley, which offers a bit of perspective, which we often fall into the trap of losing it a little bit during these podcasts, that you're so encompassed in 90 minutes that you can't see past it, which is fair, but you also have to analyse the last 90 minutes that we've just seen. Mark says, does nobody else think like me? We've had a bad game, but still not lost. It's another clean sheet, and Martinez is the best keeper in the league at the moment. I'm pretty happy as we've lost that last year. And I kind of agree with all that up until the last point, because I don't feel like there's any purpose in comparing to last year because we're such a different beast now. Yes, last year we would have been happy because we would have lost that, but this year I feel like we're a good enough team that you go there. I look at it today and go, Brighton, well, we should go there and we should win, to be honest. They did us at Villa Park. Go out there, get revenge, so to speak, and put those wrongs right. And just from minute one, we weren't at it today, and I think that's what's disappointing as much as anything. There's been a couple of performances over the last few weeks that haven't quite been up to the standard that Villa set themselves, and that's probably their downfall this season, that they've been so good at times. When they slip below that bar, they do look miles off it. So what's happened to bring us down a peg, James, and how do they get back to what we've seen against the likes of Leicester, Liverpool, Arsenal?
I just think, again, like I said at the top, I think it's just a clash of two playing styles. And, will Aston Villa change their entire style just to deal with Brighton? Would any team change their entire playing style just to deal with Brighton? It seems like the way Villa are built, again, teams that favour lots of possession and favour restricting those direct transitions, it stumbles and it thwarts a team like Villa. So, again, like you said, there is a bit of happiness because last year we don't get that point. Last year we get hammered, and it's down to not only Martinez, who made 9 saves, and Villa's fantastic defence, but Brighton's really poor choices when they were shooting. They were directing shots directly at defenders, shooting from really awkward angles. Like they didn't do enough with their chances almost. So like a lot of people saying Brighton should have won that. There was 1-2 really, really dangerous shots, and some people might say, yeah, that's one or too many. The only one that really panicked to me was the header that Martinez dealt with superbly. So again, man of the match performance from him. But what were Brighton doing with their chances? Villa rose to the occasion, but if that was on the other side, we would be furious with Villa's attacking performance there. Yeah, they might have made the chances to win. Did they really, really deserve it? No, they got a point. We both shared the result at the end of the day. So for me, again, I said it too much on this podcast, but it's just a case of moving on and seeing what we could do against Leicester. Because look, if it's anything similar to that, it'd be a really, really sad day on the Claret and Blue podcast again, talking about the same things.
Yeah, kudos for Martinez for being one of 4 Villa players, or certainly one of 4 Villa starters who I counted that have got naked arms. I think there was. I'm not saying I was bored during the game, but there was him, McGinn, Watkins, and Mings, I think, who didn't wear skins. And it was, listen, I stood outside the chippy last night and I forgot to wear a hat. On my ears, I could feel them blistering. So fair play to the naked arm quartet. I just wanted to make sure I gave them a shout out.
Think of all the heat that you lose off your head as well.
Exactly.
Without a hat. Yeah.
I was the only one in the queue for the chippy without a hat. And I think I was the only bald one, but I don't know because everybody else had hats. So
good. Back to the football. There's a comment from. I'm trying to involve a few more comments as we go through these because I don't want it to be all about us. But I'm also just picking and choosing ones that I can work a point into. One I'm going to disagree with. I want you to see if you agree or disagree. So Alex says it's not like Brighton have been poor this season. They're riding incredibly high right now. Now I look at that and think, well, they were before tonight. They were on 25 points and in 16th place, 10 points plus behind Villa. Yeah, 10 points behind. I wouldn't call that riding high. It's not like they've overachieved. If it was maybe Southampton or West Ham you're talking about, yeah, they're riding high. Villa are riding high. Brighton play decent football but fails to pick up points, and that's why they were 16th before today. I still think today was a missed opportunity for Villa, and the manner of performance is what's annoying more so than anything. I think a point away at Brighton isn't the end of the world. I think if Villa's aspirations are top 6, then yeah, this probably was a game you'll look back and I think, should have won there. It's not the end of the world that we've only picked up a point tonight. It's just the manner of the performance that's concerning, I think. And whether Brighton are good at the moment is irrelevant.
They might not be riding high in the league, but they're in decent form, aren't they? They've beaten Spurs, they've beaten Liverpool. I think I'm just looking at my notes here.
You've done notes.
Well, I'm playing catch up here, and I think the only game that they've lost is in the FA Cup to Leicester. Since when? Since the middle of January. So they're in decent form, and I think I tweeted earlier in the game that it's tribute to Birmingham as a place that they've got 2 very bright Premier League coaches from Birmingham. Well, I say from Birmingham. It was pedant's corner, to be honest, because people were saying, well, Great Bar, Strictly Samwell-ish, and Solihull. Is it Solihull? Is it Birmingham? So somebody picked me up on that, and I think I got back to him by saying, "Are you the bloke who draws the lines on VAR on the offside?" You're really splitting hairs here. But yeah, Brighton are a good team. I think we all were a bit surprised when Chris Hughton got the boot a couple of years ago, thinking, well, he's kept Brighton up, they've consolidated. But I do think they have kicked on again.
Yeah,
under Graham Potter. Like I said, Villa haven't played very well tonight. It's probably down there or up there in their worst 3 or 4 performances of the season. Yet we've left with a point. We've left with a clean sheet. My biggest concern of the night is probably how serious the injury is to Matty Cash, because I think, as Celebrity Forest fan Darren Fletcher told us on the podcast earlier in the week, Matty Cash has been brilliant. So I just don't think that El Mohammadi is going to bring the same kind of energy, whether that's going forward or defending. I know El Mohammadi's never really let us down before, but it certainly weakens your starting 11 if Matty Cash isn't available for that next game next weekend.
100%. And it looked like he was holding the back of his hamstring, wasn't he? So you would assume if that is a hamstring injury, it's going to be a few weeks more so than he'll be back next week. But we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
I can't hear Matt saying that you look trim, by the way.
Look trim?
Yeah.
Look hell. You should I've just had at half time, I did myself 3 pieces of cheese on toast with this really kind of spicy Mexican cheese, and it was dribbling down my chin. So if you'd have seen me then, you'd have probably thought that I'm the slob that I actually am, rather than the camera taking off 2 stone or whatever, 2 pounds.
I also have my ears lowered, which I think that makes my face look a bit like flatter.
Yeah, Dan, are you one of these kind of these lockdown busting kind of people who has their entourage with them? Your bubbles, your stylist. Well, I'm just looking at your hair now. It's not your stylist. Your bubbles, your hairdresser and that. Do you want to explain?
Not really. The missus did it with my beard trimmer. She's done a decent job. I think we can all agree.
That's all right, mate.
Not bad, is it? Little beard trim as well. I don't know. We've gone down the road, yeah. There's a couple of football points. We all get back onto football that I want to talk about now. Grealish and Smith. We'll tackle Grealish first, because there's 2 here. I'm going to put these both to you. Unpopular opinion, but I think Jack's not been at the races since West Brom. Maybe being too harsh on him, but he's not reaching the levels from the start of the season. And a later comment says, I say rest Jack for 1 game. Why not? And my instant reaction to that is because he's our best player, and we've got even less chance of winning games without him. It's as simple as that for me.
Yeah, I can't have that. He ripped Burnley apart on his own. Shame we didn't get a result there, but look, he had a personal highlight reel against Burnley. Cross-pitch runs against Southampton. The West Brom game was before the Crystal Palace one, which is arguably his best performance of the entire season. So can't be having that. And you want Villa aren't a club rich in depth. You want Ollie Watkins to be playing every game. You want Jack Grealish to be playing every game. You want your best players to be playing every game. But there's a lot being made about fitness. We said that against West Ham. Then Villa came out the races against Arsenal a few days later. They had a week off against Brighton. The fitness concerns come out again. For me, it's just an excuse, to be honest. Yes, fitness is a thing in football. Like Dean Smith says, what player is begging to be not play a game because they're out of practice? Sometimes you're just not at the races, and that could be a mental thing as much as it's a physical thing. And I don't think fitness is an excuse right now, especially with how we performed against Arsenal, looking against West Ham, the week off, which everyone made a big deal of, and it's a similar flat performance. Not for me, sorry.
What are we looking at if Grealish gets left out? We're looking at Trezeguet or El Ghazi coming in on left wing. Is that what we're saying? Because for me, and everybody knows I'm a bit of a Jack Grealish fanboy, but for me, Jack Grealish with a 5 out of 10 performance is still probably one of the best players in Villa's team. Tonight, regrettably, everybody had 5 out of 10 performances, so it wasn't particularly great. But I think that's harsh to say he's not turned up since West Brom. To be fair, what we're talking, 10 games since then.
Not far off, yeah. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That is the point of something like this. I'm not going to sit here and go, "Oh, well, if you think Jack should be rested, you're an idiot." I mean, I wouldn't rest him.
If I had said that, you'd call me an idiot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's different because we're friends. But
you call me an idiot.
You can't rest someone like Jack Grealish, who's one of the best players Villa's best player. He's one of the best players in the Premier League. You don't just rest him for no reason. If he gets a suspension or something, that's when he gets his rest, not for saying, "Oh yeah, just sit out, Jack." I'm sure he'd take that lovely, wouldn't he?
I agree with the general sentiment of the question.
Yeah, but he's not been as good as he has been.
Yeah.
I also agree with that, but the way to fix that isn't about dropping him. It's just to play himself back into form.
It's like an A and B test. It's like you see it and you think, oh, he's not been at the races, rest him out. That should work. But Villa, the way they play is directed through a certain player, and it's not to say they're a one-man team, but a lot of the focus is opening up space for that one player to change the game. I don't want to see what Villa come up with without Jack Grealish, because he would want to play every single minute of every single game. They focus on playing for him. I don't think it would be the solution to take the captain of the club away from playing the next game, which is against Leicester, a game which arguably Jack Grealish should be unlocking for us.
Second point I wanted to talk about was Dean Smith. There's one here that's come in, talk about him being tactical, not being tactical enough. It doesn't change anything tactically during a game when it's blatantly not going to plan. There's been several comments further back up in the stream about him not being tactically astute. Substitutes always being the same, either coming too late or the wrong substitute, not having a plan B. We've talked about things like this for the last year of the podcast, pretty much, particularly last year when Villa weren't doing very well, saying, well, what's the plan B? What can Smith change? Do you feel like he has more options to change it now? Should Barkley still be given a chance? It's arguable that Nakamba should maybe have kept his place today as well. What do we think?
I feel like Marvelous Nakamba's been a bit hard done by almost. He's had some fantastic games this season. He's almost been a almost underrated player of the season. He's been featuring in drips and drabs, and I guess that is where that kind of tactical news comes in, because you do see these changes. Douglas Luiz getting dropped, Marvelous Nakamba being inserted in certain games, so there is some kind of tactical thinking going on there. And hang on, we got Craig Shakespeare backing it up, who many pointed out as being a big catalyst in Leicester's charge to the title and their modern success. So, I don't want to say I completely disagree with our loyal commentators, but there's two. It's like again like the A and B test. If Villa don't perform, people go, Dean Smith ain't done a good job tactically. Look at the transformation of this club. We have to hold that up, and you don't want to constantly hang your hat up on that after every poor result, poor performance. But a big part of these tactical changes saved Aston Villa's Premier League position and have kicked them on. It's small changes. Look, if we can figure this stuff out next season. I know we almost hung our hat on getting into Europe this season, but we've come so far, and there's Villa's journey ain't over. No chance. Is it over? You see where you finish this season. Build next season. Hopefully, no one's going anywhere. I think everyone's bought into this project. As fans, we bought into this project surely. So, got to keep kicking on.
Yeah, you raised a point about Europe there, which I'll come back to. First of all, Matt, your thoughts on Smith tactically? We all know he's a nice bloke and blah, 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 but tactically.
Yeah, listen, Villa have now won as many games in the Premier League this season as they haven't won. I think they've won 11. They've lost 8, I think, and drawn 3. And the 11 that they won, I don't remember discussing whether it was tactically astute or not. I think that sometimes... of course it's obvious, but what I'm saying is, what is he tactically astute half the time, then he forgets to be the next week? You know what I mean? I think sometimes you've got to give credit to the opposition teams as well. I mean,
yeah.
As a fan, as a kind of man in the pub kind of mentality, which I bring to this no more, no less than any of that. Yeah, I do think sometimes it's a bit samey. I do think that if Jack Grealish is being doubled up on down the left side of the pitch, why not try and move him around and pull people? Let's see if the left back and the left winger are as disciplined as the right back and the right winger. Let's see if the defensive midfielder can stick to Jack like glue if he moves into the number 10 position. But again, Smith, there's a reason why Smith has stayed loyal to a core of 13 or 14 players this season, because he trusts them. He trusts that 9 times out of 10 they'll carry out his instructions and his game plan, and that'll be enough to win the game or to avoid defeat. It's difficult, isn't it? Because if the way to set Villa up tonight, if we'd have had 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10 performances from Jack Grealish, Ollie Watkins, Ross Barkley, and Traore, Villa would have created chances, and chances are they might have actually scored a goal. I mean, there can't be too many occasions where Villa have failed to score this season, can there?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they?
Yeah, I don't know what the stat is, but we went through, didn't we, in the wins back with the clean sheets, and I think we talked about defeats. There was maybe one game we didn't score in and a draw. I can't remember the specifics, but we've definitely spoken about this before. You can probably have a quick Google while you're talking. So come on here for James from Salbdon Blue, who says you cannot rely on one player for everything, and we're being found out when Grealish doesn't perform. We get found out because we don't perform when Grealish is quiet. Sorry. To get his comment across properly for audio listeners later down the line. What's the solution to that? Because if teams are going to look at that now and go, well, West Ham doubled up on him, Brighton doubled up on him, and we effectively stopped him and stopped Villa. First of all, how does Smith address that? Is it as simple as just going, oh, play out the right wing for 15 minutes and see if that's any better? Or is it the responsibility of the likes of Traore, McGinn, Barkley to do more to make up for that? Because for a start, if they're doubling up on Jack, there should be more space for these players, and they don't seem to be taking advantage of that. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think one of the key themes in a Villa performance has been that kind of left-sided success that opens up that right-sided sucker punch almost from across. And there's always a winger coming in, whether it's El Ghazi, Traore, Trezeguet, to kind of finish from the opposite flank of Grealish. But look, as you say, I think the player himself has said, if I'm doubled up on, that's a good thing because it means someone is open. And probably not enough is being done by the other players who should be then moving on. I guess the way Villa work up that left-hand side with Ollie Watkins moving up, dragging players away from Grealish should open up a channel in the middle for Ross Barkley to run in, and that's how you see that kind of Southampton goal when he comes charging in to be the hero. But it's not always going to work, is it? And like Matt said, you do have to give the other team credit. Aston Villa aren't the only team that are playing in the Premier League, and Brighton, very good team. There's among people who kind of analyse football, there's a saying that the league table does lie. You can make a lot of luck. You can get lucky and win a lot of games out of just pure luck alone sometimes. Brighton have been very unlucky. They've been performing mostly very well this season, and they have had luck go against them quite a lot. So you have to give them a lot of credit. They've turned up in a lot of games. They've beat Liverpool, beat Tottenham. People will say, looking at just the stats of that, without looking at the game, that they should have beat us, but they didn't. So there has to be some positives from that. And again, the whole Grealish thing, we're not like an elite team, are we? We can't spend 50 million on Cancelo and then have 30 million for John Stones just to have these massive pieces on the bench to rotate. We get in there. We bought Morgan Sanson. We'll have to see what we do in the summer, but you have to wait for those steps to happen. We have to have another transfer window to unlock that capital for us to buy players and get these options.
What do you think? And again, this is me being tactically wanting. What do you think about perhaps unleashing McGinn to go and do his stuff a bit further forward? I don't think we're blessed. Well, I suppose we're blessed with number 10s in the sense that Ross Barkley and Jack Grealish can both play there. But what do you think about tucking somebody in, Douglas Luiz and Sanson, or Nakamba and Luiz, and letting McGinn free a little bit more to patrol further forward? Could that work, or just because he's probably going to bring more energy to that role than Ross Barkley's currently doing?
Yeah, what's interesting is like at some points during last season, in our championship season, McGinn was essentially almost like a striker. He almost single-handedly touched the ball at the highest part of the pitch. And that seems to be where Ross Barkley plays. When you see Watkins kind of pressing up, Ross Barkley's almost off his shoulder sometimes. So for me, it would be almost like a straight switch, as you said, Matt. McGinn higher up, where he's succeeded a lot for us, and Sanson filling in where McGinn was. And I feel like that could be a really positive change if you wanted that energy, for sure, for me.
Yeah. You mentioned Europe earlier, James. I want to kind of wrap up a little bit.
Yeah.
Is this the time now that we stop talking about Villa making it into Europe? Do you think, if we have a quick flash up of the league table, Villa's still in 8th place, 36 points, only 3 points behind Chelsea, still with a game in hand? Is it too easy to have a couple of bad in quote marks performances and think, oh, that's it, that's Villa ruined, they've got no chance? Or do you still look at that and think, you know what, Villa's still having a good season, another couple of wins, and we're all talking about a European tour again?
like it's pointless stopping dreaming and enjoy it. I think people, it's like last season. It's almost exactly like the conversation about relegation. People are almost desperate to say that's it, Villa are done, so they can kind of cut off that tie then and not worry or not be as emotionally. You know, when your heart's going, when it's Villa holding on to that 1-0 lead in the dying embers of a game, you want to kind of cut all that attachment off. In some ways. So I remember last season, people saying, right, when are we going to say that they're done? And that they weren't done. They weren't done into the final whistle of the final game. Look, for me, it's got to still be on the cards. Villa in the top 10. They didn't lose to Brighton. They drew against Brighton. People are going to get frustrated saying, I want to stop talking about you. Stop talking. The players won't be. The players will be very much focused on finishing as high as possible. Where Villa are at the moment, with still probably a game in hand or whatever, they've got to be thinking about that. You've got to be thinking about getting to the final day of the season with something to play for, and that's very much on the cards for me, at least. Anyway, I may be overly optimistic, but again, looking after that result, why not? What Villa have been a massive surprise package this season. They still are.
Thoughts, Matthew?
I've just been sorry. I should have been paying attention, but I've just been thinking about we're playing a game. We're trying to put together a condiments 11.
Oh my god!
On Twitter, because when the commentator called him Sarson again, or Sasson, I was thinking vinegar, and we just started. me and some of the guys on Twitter just started knocking about. And my favourite was Tabasco Balaban, which someone came up with. And what else did we have? We had Andy Gravy,
Good.
Mustard for Hadji. What
Yeah,
else was
good.
There's
Not
some
bad.
Pepper Reiner in goal.
Not really a condiment, but okay.
Well, it is, isn't it? Stick it on your table. It's exactly a condiment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Salsa
Not really. Yeah, it's not bad. Remember when we did the dog puns about a year ago, sat in the office, and people thought we were mental?
Douglas Luiz is the one.
Still going.
Which one was
Douglas
that?
Luiz. Yeah, Douglas Luiz. Classic.
Douglas Luiz.
Absolutely.
What were you asking me about Europe? Yeah,
Oh,
we've drawn a game. You know, we'll probably win the next one and lose the one after that.
Yeah.
And then win the next one, lose the one after that, and then draw one in another 3 months.
What's
It's still on. We've got 4 points. I know Liverpool are crap, so it's not a great barometer, but I think we're 4 points behind Liverpool, are we now? Who are in fourth?
Yeah.
2 games in hand.
Yeah,
Is that right?
there's a good comment there, Dan, that you've got to put up from Anna Power, who said, I said it last week and I'll say it again. It's great to be worried about not making Europe. That is the one.
Yeah.
It is. Nice problems to have.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Yeah, there was a comment earlier that I was just going to mention. Somebody asked, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. They were talking about how many points do you think is realistic for the remainder of the season? I'm not going to go into predicting games specifically. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. I think that's maybe 20 points. Is 20 points between now and the end of the season not realistic or not? So Villa have got, what?
16 games?
16 games left to play. 20 points from 16 games, taking us to a total of 56. Is that realistic, do we think?
Yeah.
It seems
I think so.
pretty doable, doesn't it? When you said that, just about if you win a game or lose a game, which seems to be Villa's thing at the moment, what would that get us points-wise? If you win 8 and lost 8, what's 8 wins? 24.
24 points, isn't it? So that gets you to 60.
Yeah, so if we win one and lose one every week, like we seem to keep doing, that gets to 60 points and probably sneak us into Europe. So maybe Villa just have to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like we're not an elite side, are we? I feel like, you know, you're Aston Villa. You're coming off that last season where you were seconds, a different few games or a different few results away from going down. And parry it on as much as you like. The progress has been brilliant. Progress has been fantastic, and you know you can't. If you're Man City, I would have said Liverpool, but they're in a bad run of form. But if you're like Man City, you can go every game, go we're winning this, and if we draw or lose, it is it's a blow up. You know, we shouldn't have done that, but no, where Villa are, every single game is almost like a free hit at this point. If you lose, whatever, move on, win the next one. If you draw, whatever, move on, win the next one. If you win, we'll have to win the next one. You're like in the bonus round of the season right now. Like Villa have got so much free space now to kind of do whatever they want and not blow up and panic about anything. It's refreshing. After all we've been for the last few seasons, God, we have to win every game just to make the playoffs. God, we have to win every game just to stay up. it's really refreshing to be an Aston Villa fan right now, despite the last match we just watched.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good way of looking at it, to be honest. I've not really thought of it like that before. Thanks,
Anyway,
James.
I make just one good point every 4 podcasts, I think.
Anything to add, Matt, before we wrap up with some nonsense?
I was just looking at the table from last year, and if Villa did get, God, look at me, if Villa did win half of the remaining games and finish on 60 points, that would have put them in 6th place last season, just edging out Tottenham. So, yeah, it's possible, isn't it? Because, yeah, God, you might as well just rewind and clip the last podcast or the one before last when we didn't win a game. Villa bounced back. Villa aren't flat 2 weeks in a row. Villa aren't flat 2 games in a row. Not saying they're necessarily going to go and dismantle Leicester next weekend, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility of beating Leicester once this season. So, yeah, we'll just take it. We'll stick the point in our bag and we'll make the long trek back home from Brighton. Well, we won't. I'm sitting in my son's bedroom. But we'll make the long trek back and just look forward to next week. You know, it's still, even a boring 0-0 of a night, it's still an adventure of a season. So keep the faith.
You know what I'm looking forward to? The next time we do one of these podcasts, and Matt, you stop messing with a pen or whatever it is.
Can you hear it?
Of course I can hear it.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's very annoying. You've got to get your podcast right. Surely you can hear it.
I can't hear anything, Matt. I can just hear this pen.
Is Dan, not Matt?
Ridiculous. Someone also asked how long I can't find it now. Someone asked how long I spend on my eyebrows. I don't know why this is a running theme. My facial grooming and stuff. No time at all. I pluck the middle every so often, but the rest of it's just au natural, mate. Deal with it.
Dan, are you trying to become some kind of YouTube influencer? Are you trying to get some some cosmetics deal with Revlon or something? Is this all just an elaborate route? Are we just here just to make you look pretty?
That's the whole point of the podcast. The last episode, people talking about me dyeing my hair. It's the same as it always has been.
You check yourself out in your camera.
Yeah, because he's got black hair. It's the same as it always was. Brown. Don't understand. I'm just getting the lighting right in this room. That was why I've done it wrong.
Are those little car kits in the back behind you? You know, the ones that you hang in your windows in your car? They look really dinky.
No, again, just perspective. Should I go and stand next to them? I'm not going to get up. No, they're normal size. They're both medium. Looks good, doesn't it? I've made a little bit of effort. Now I've got a new space.
It does look good. You know that A in Kazoo? Is that a car?
It is, yeah. Have you never noticed?
Oh my God.
It must be time to wrap up soon, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I can already see the views are going up, so maybe we should keep going. That's how I can see the viewers leaving, but they're not. But yeah, we'll end there. Who is it next week? Did you say it was Leicester?
Yeah. Sunday.
We'll beat them. No worries. We'll be back.
Yeah, when we smack them about, make them look silly. Be brilliant down the podcast.
Get that on Twitter next week. Yeah, we'll get out of here. We've enjoyed it. Nice little ramble at the end, as always. Thank you very much, Matt and James, for joining me. Thanks to all the commenters for watching along live on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks for giving us a little bit of direction for the talking points. For those of you who are watching this not on Saturday night or maybe listening on podcast platforms, get involved and leave iTunes reviews, Spotify, all that kind of usual stuff. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Claret Blue Pod. We're now verified on Twitter, so you'll find us very, very easily with a blue tick. We've got like 300 followers off the back of being verified. I don't know how that happens.
Fair of a support, isn't it? David O'Leary was right. Some fickle support here and there.
Yeah, we don't really want to lose those 300 games. We've just got them. Okay.
We're welcome. From the start,
we appreciate your support, even if you are blue tick groupies.
Started from a podcast with a terrible name. And nobody backed us there. And then we get a blue tick. It's all like, oh, check it.
Wait till we change the name to Poddy War Heath. You wait till we get on that. They're going to come in the droves.
Yeah, we'll get out of here. Thank you very much all for joining us. And
thank you.
I'll see you again in a. Is it next weekend or is it in the week?
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday. We'll be back in just over a week. Thank you very much. And up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.